Hello guys, welcome back for a new Q&A. This one is going to be the 20K Q&A, which is absolutely mental. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for subscribing. And thank you for following me. It's been 3 years that I've come back to YouTube for real, maybe 4 years actually. But it humbles me really to have you all of here. And I remember that, some of you were already here in 2022. I was only having 3,000 subscribers at a time. And when I was a little boy, I wanted to draw. I like to draw. And I wanted to draw comics. And then I wanted to draw for video games. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to be a teacher. And I did not become a teacher. But now I'm a PT, I'm a personal trainer. I work with basically a full classroom of people directly, but then it's like I have 2 stadium or even 3 stadium full of you guys, watching my video, commenting, helping me, supporting me, and I feel so blessed and so lucky to have you here with me. So thank you. This Q&A is the least I can do to give you back, basically, and I'm going to basically answer your question. First, I'm shirtless because it's hot. And there is a fan in the background because it's really hot. So I'm going to edit that out, but you have to forgive me for my not so professional appearance, okay? But, I'm in my house and it's hot and it's very sunny and I already have a fan, and I'm already sweaty. So, if it does bother you, just please listen, okay? But since you're following me for bodybuilding content, you're basically used to see me half naked, I think. So, yeah. Now I'm going to answer your question. I have taken in account the previous Q&A when you were telling me to put the question and the people, the guys that asked, basically, because my pronunciation, my accent is quite thick, and I apologize about that. So yeah, let's get to it. All right. I'm going to answer every single question I can find in about an hour. Okay? So let's go. The first one is Lord Vat. Hi, Sofiak, long-time subscriber here. Hey, bro. Definitely wouldn't mind vlogs on Florence. Okay. Also, a quick question, are dumbbell shrug a fine replacement for X-bar or trap bar shrugs? I've heard that the later variation is the best one for targeting all fibers of the trapezius, but I'm worried about the extra setup time even though my gym has all the equipment. Okay, that is a very, very smart question. So thank you for it, man. The vlog for Florence is on the way, so do not worry about this. It's going to be quite different from the other video, by the way. So, I'm a bit worried. I hope you will like it. But yeah, anyway, about your question, dumbbell shrug to replace X-bar, trap bar. I'm not a fan of this for a very simple reason. If you go with the X-bar, you can load it up very, very heavy. Even the smallest trap bar, I think, can go with 5 plates, something like that, which is 220, 230 kilogram, depending of the trap bar weight, okay? For dumbbell, if you already have 60 kilogram or 130 pounds available in most gym, it's the max. So you're stuck at this, which is basically half of what you have with the X bar. And for this reason, I believe that it's not a good replacement. Furthermore, there is a little misconception I think that you have with trapezius, and that is that you want an exercise that is going to target all the fibers of it. The trapezius is a muscle that goes from basically your mouth down to your upper abs and across above your shoulder, okay? It's a very big, wide muscle that is involved in a shit ton of movement. I can't find one movement that is going to target efficiently all fibers, as you said, of a trapezius. So if you're talking strictly about the upper traps, shrugging is enough, whatever the shrug variation. If you're talking about the whole traps, one exercise is not going to cut it. You need at least 2, and I think 3 would be better, okay? So in my opinion, it would be better for you to just put the trap bar in a rack or on blocks and shrug from here. Dumbbell are not going to cut it for very long. If you're still kind of weak, and you can still work very hard with dumbbell, You can do it for now. At some point, you're going to be stuck because of its dumbbell. Except if you have load up barbell, load up, dumbbell that you can load up as you want, and then, why not? Okay, but yeah, no, I would prefer to stick with trap bar. Okay. Next question, Napolitan Rose. Nice pseudo, man. Do you listen to any music in the gym? Yes, I do. I have a Spotify playlist. I'm going to link it up. I think it's already in the description, but I might be wrong. It's in my Instagram. I know that for sure. But yeah, I listen to music. I really love, it's quite various. I really like hard rock and metal at the base. Right now I'm more into a art style funk era. I like classical music to train. I have also listened to pagan folk sound. Mongol singing is also quite good. Yeah, that's about it, I think. Sometimes white girl music. And but I like music. Music is actually one of the best things you can do to enhance your performance and to mitigate the fatigue perceptions that you have. Okay? All right. Rosendo Van Dam ask, off-topic question, how do you take care and style your hair? I currently have medium length hair and attempting to grow out my hair. It took me a while to figure out that brush my hair, keep it down, my thick hair. There are some words missing, sorry. Shout out to Brett McKay at The Art of Manliness. Okay, so first and foremost, there is no off-topic question. I can answer anything. Shout out to Brett McKay of Art of Manliness. I know this guy and I know his channel and his website, and it is quite sound advice, so you can check it out. How do I take care and style my hair? Okay, so for styling my hair, basically they are extra long. They drop down to wrist level, and in the back they are basically on top of my low back, so they are very long, too long. I'm going to cut them soon. I can't really style them. I just pass the brush, a wooden brush, in my hair twice, in the morning and before bed, and that's about it really. How do I style them? I keep them in the bun like that, or I do a ponytail. That's about it. I cannot do anything else except braids. But each time I try, my shoulder just burns so much, so I have to stop. How do I take care of them? I put a serum every day, to keep them as thick as possible and slow down the loss, the hair falling. And I basically have a shampoo that I enhance with vitamins and stuff and amino acid to make it more potent, for both the scalp health and the hair health, etc. I will do a video about it, but unfortunately, it pains me to say it, but I'm basically at around Norwood 3 right now, something like that. So compared to other men in my family, I'm either slightly better or exactly the same. So I have very nice hair, but it's not like it's keeping me a Norwood 0, Bright Moon asks, what supplement you take and would you recommend to other for the effects? Also, what do you think of taking 1 gram of creatine per 10 kilogram? Another question I have is, did you ever had a client who had Pectus Carinatum? Did you recommend him to have some specific exercise while focusing on some? Okay, so that's several questions. First things first, a supplement, I'm going to make a full video about it. It's going to be easier. Like my top 5 supplements that if you only had to take 5 supplements, what would it be? What I'm currently taking, because I have a sponsor now, so it's much easier for me to have much more supplementation, but it's actually quite recent because up to last year, basically, I was not taking much supplement, or not last year, 2 years, up to 2 years ago, I was not taking much supplement, and I never did except for a few months in 2015, and it ate my guts because it was very, very bad quality, okay? So, basically, whey, collagen, magnesium, zinc, vitamin D, vitamin K, it needs to be K2, MK4 or MK7, glucosamine and conjugating for the joints, creatine. Just this, it's already more than enough, okay? What do you think of taking 1 gram of creatine per 10 kilogram? Well, it depends if it's 10 kilogram of muscle or fat, it depends on your shape. I'd say that for muscle, we have plenty of studies and evidence to say that you basically cap for any kind of muscular gains with creatine at about 3 to 5 grams per day. If you are quite big and tall, maybe up to 7 to 8 grams. But after that, it's only cognitive function boosting, not muscle thing, or at least it has not been observed and proven. I have a few trainees that are quite tall and big, and I've put them on 8 to 10 grams of creatine per day for two reasons. First, they are big, as I told you. And second, they have, unfortunately, a very, very busy schedule, and they tend to, most of the time, be slightly sleep deprived. And in that case, creatine can blunt the effect of brain fatigue, basically. But does it have any kind of effect on muscle? Not that we know of. Okay, so what do I think? I think it depends. Another question is that for the Pectus Carinatum. Okay, so for those of you guys that do not know what he's talking about, there is the Pectus extravactus, which is what I have. So I have a hole. Okay. Pectus Carinatum is the reverse. There is a bump. Okay. And he's asking me for specific exercise. There is no specific exercise. Either you spot it quite early in the childhood and the basically early teenagehood, pre-pubescent, I think we say, and you have surgery for this, or you'll have to live with this. The only thing you can do is make your abs and chest bigger. And you can stretch your rib cage with stuff like dips, pullovers, push-ups, flies. That's it. Fortunately, that's it. Or you have to basically break your sternum and remodel it. And it's not going to be pretty when you are when you're finished growing. Sorry, man. Steve Roger asks, do you think it's possible to go from beginner to intermediate to advanced using only twice a week full body training? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I do. It might not be the quickest way, but you can definitely do it. You're basically asking this. But I could, if you were telling me 5 days a week bro split, I would say also that yes, it's possible. It's just that, there might be easier, faster, more convenient way. But yeah, definitely twice a week full body is more than enough. And Alexander Leonidas, from Halva Destiny, did it. Or at least he went from intermediate to advanced, which is actually the hardest to do. So, no problem with that, man. Next question, Michael Rossi asks, top 5 natural bodybuilders of today in your opinion? Okay, so first one is Switzerland athlete Ramon Lischmacher. He's amazing. Second one, there is Samuel Hartmann from France, but he's not natural anymore. He is starting to juice, so. I guess Martin Pohl. I think he's from Germany. He's really good, very good legs, There is a guy from Belgium, Umar Fit, I think his pseudo is on Instagram, and he's barely 18 or 19. He's insane, he's fantastic. And I think he's from Belgium. I'm not sure, but he has a thin waist, but at the same time he has thick erectors, great rib cage, good legs. My brain is not braining right now, I'm sorry. I'll try to answer it later. Joel Zieglerman asks, I've seen a varying opinion from advanced lifter on how strict of a technique should be used. Everyone seems to agree that you must train to failure or close to failure. However, some advanced natural bodybuilder like Jeff Herbert emphasizes the importance of very strict technique, while others like yourself use a looser style. What do you train? Why do you train the way that you do? And what do you think about those that use stricter technique? Okay, so very interesting question as well. You guys are awesome. I love you guys. Okay, so technique is just a parameter to target what you want, how you want. Okay? When you are a beginner, you have no choice and no excuse to not do it properly. Because you're trying to build good technique, a good nerve pathway, and also to make your body more resilient. as you go and grow as a lifter and get more advanced, not only do you have a better relationship with your body, like you can feel better things, you can feel easier what's inside your body and how it's going. And at the same time, you are going to progress slower. One of the way to make the sets that you're doing easier is to actually cheat a bit the form or use a bit of momentum to squeeze out a few reps. It's not that you have to go from very strict, from very poor technique, but it is that if you allow some body English or some loose form happening, you have much more room to progress. And then when you come back to strict technique, you're actually stronger. But at the same time, it's more risky. It's more tiring for the connective tissues, tendons, ligaments. So it's an in-between. You have to feel that it's going to be useful. You have to make it useful, and you have to do it without hurting yourself. So then there are guys like Brent Warren and Ronnie Coleman that had a very loose form style of training, but they grow big. Say they were Mr. Olympia. One of them was 8-time Mr. Olympia. But they had a few injuries. And then there is Jeff Albert, which, if I remember correctly, the guy is in his 50s, and he has the body of a guy who's in his 30s. At 50, you have much less room for bullshit that you have when you're 20. So him being very strict with his technique, I think is just because he has enough experience and his body is very conditioned to lifting to make sure that the job is done with a strict technique. In my case, it never felt right to be extra strict. It never did. I tried it, guys. I've been training for 13 years soon. I tried the slow eccentric, the very controlled way of training. I don't feel it right, first and foremost. I do not enjoy it. And I literally have less result from it. Like, I have less soreness, I have less pump, I have less, I progress much lower. Sometimes I even regress. So I'm not going to do it. I'm also pretty sure that it depends on the nervous system style that you have. Some people can fuck themselves up in one set. Some needs multiple sets. And some people just feel way better having a very strict technique, while some other just, from the outside, it looks like they're yanking the weight when you're actually doing the job properly. So I'd say it depends. And when you are advanced, it's really about you and how much you can personalize your training and what you do with it. Okay? I will do a video about it, actually. Next question. Adrevir asks how to train when I could train 2 weeks and no training in next 2 weeks, and that is a circle. Okay. So I think he meant to say that he can train for 2 weeks and the 2 weeks following he cannot. Then 2 weeks, etc. That's definitely not easy to do with. My take would be to try and find ways to keep training even though you think you can't. Even if it's just band work or body weight or whatever, and just do as little as possible just to maintain whatever you have. And on the 2 weeks you have that you can train, I assume it's because you have to be on the road or you have to be maybe on the oil rig site, something like that. Your 2 weeks off or your 2 weeks when you can train, just blast as much as possible on the training. And the 2 weeks that you cannot really do it, try to do it. But, it is what it is. It's definitely not easy, man. But half-fast training, training just 2 weeks out of 4 is still better than no training at all, okay? It's just that you have to find a way, man, to squeeze some stuff here and there. Just doing push-ups, pull-ups, squat, whatever. Bring a band, do face pull, curls, triceps, so whatever, okay? Next question. Reynard Fox asks, on a twice-a-week full-body routine, 2-3 sets per exercise or 3 or 4. I progress with evolving rep range. I max rep, add set, max rep, increase weight, drop 1 set, etc. Well, you answer your question, man, if that's what you're doing. You ask 2-3 sets per exercise or 3 or 4, but then you say you have a triple progression. You max reps, and you add sets, and you max reps, and you increase the weight, and you drop the 1 set. So that's basically what you're asking. That's basically what you're doing. And it depends. You say 2-3 sets per exercise or 3 or 4. It depends. How much exercise per muscle group? How much is the size in total? It's full body training. You cannot do every exercise and every muscle 100%. It depends. I'm sorry, man. your way of doing is good, but I wouldn't, if possible, I would not try to add a set. I would just do 2-3 sets and do double progression from here. Like do not overcomplicate it if it's possible. If you need this to progress, maybe you need better exercise selection, or you need to tweak in the exercise orders. And then it can be a way of doing only 2-3 sets on big, heavy, basic compounds lift and 3 or 4 for isolation, or you do 2 or 3 sets only for the muscle you do not really care about because they're doing fine, and you do 3 or 4 for the weak point or the focus that you have. And that's about it, really. Adrevir again ask what you think about my Mentzer heavy duty low volume training system. I'm going to surprise a lot of you guys, I think, but I do not like it at all. And what he preaches is not what he was doing. And the sheer fact that you don't have much high-level athletes that are doing HIT is a proof that there is a problem with the application of a theory that is actually good. Each time you listen to Mike Mentzer or Arthur Jones or Dr. Ellington Darden, the theory is fine. There is no problem with that. In the science, is only giving them reason and showing they are right time and time again. But if we do not have more jacked guys that are doing HIT as they were presenting it, means there is a problem with the application. And I'm going to do a video about it. But, what I think about it is that it's not applicable for everyone. It's extremely hard to apply it, period. And it's very hard to progress, believe it or not. And every guy that is going to say, yeah, but I progress and everything, I'm at least twice stronger than you. Okay? And every guy that you see that is doing high volume training, because high volume training is dead now. No one is doing high volume training anymore. HIT won in that sense. I've never seen a guy who can bench 4 plates that is doing just this heavy duty low volume thing. Any top athlete, actually. So if it's because you like it and it's because you can only have 3 sessions of 20 minutes in your week to train, well then yeah, HIT is a sure choice for you because it suits you. It suits your schedule. But apart of that, there is no reason to try and make it sound like it's going to be better, because no one is doing 80 sets anymore per week like they used to. Next question, my Folkman. What are your top 2 favorite picks for biceps and triceps exercise? I have the same arm insertion as you and feel like my arms are always lagging. Just watch my video, man. But basically, I just do normal exercise. Each time I can just, load up the muscle. I mean, there is no specific exercise. There is just personal picks. And that's it. For example, for triceps, I like French presses. And for biceps, I like pinwheel curls. But the fact that you have the same insertion as me does not necessarily mean that they are going to work for you and feel good for you. I have a valgus, I have hypermobile elbows, I have long arms, I have big shoulder, I have strong forearm. There is everything taken in account for me to conclude that these exercises are good for me. But for you, it might be different. So just find exercise that you feel good, that is not hurting yourself, that you can do the job properly with it, and just stick to it. Okay? Next question. Lugubrious Crowdad asks, why can't I grow my outer calf? Inner head of my gastrocnemius is much larger than the outer. And Aliha Sanax answered, turn your feet inward. Yes. Actually, yes. When you're doing your calves, the position of the rotation of your foot is going to dictate where the pressure is put when you're doing the exercise. And basically, if you have duck feet, you're going to work more the inner calf. And when you have the feet turn inward, it's going to work more the outer part. So definitely, very good advice. Thank you for answering that. And I concur. Next question, Ashraf Mahboubi. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, bro. 2 sets versus 3 sets and volume per muscle per week and frequency. Thank you, sir. It depends. I'm sorry, I cannot answer that. I'd say a minimum of twice weekly. Volume 10 to 30 sets. 2 sets versus 3 sets. Depends again, is it 2 sets of squat to failure or is it 2 sets of concentration curl? I'm sorry, man, but it depends. It depends. Do not go overboard and try to complexify things, man. Sorry. The French weightlifter. So he says in French, do a feat with Eric Bugenhagen. Oh man, Eric Bugenhagen. Jeez. I have a playlist on YouTube. I created it in 2018, 7 years ago. Jeez. And it's just a compilation of all his videos, when he's doing the odd lifting stuff, Jefferson at deadlifts, etc. Their short deadlifts, etc. With a sound blasting max. And I was listening to this while getting my pre-workout and my coffee on the way to the gym. And then I was doing the same thing. Good times. Good times. Dividend King asks, congratulations. Thanks, man. For the Q&A, what is your favorite type of progression? Double progression. Do you have different progression type for different muscle? No. No, it's just that for some movement, I really listen to my body in terms of like the joint feedback and not just the muscle feedback. Like when I'm doing like Bulgarian split squat or hack squat, I listen to my knee and not just my muscles. Okay, I'm back. My pant was thirsty. This coffee is good, that's why. Okay, Matt Simply asks, huge fan and super glad to see you reach this milestone. Thank you, man. I was wondering how a 3 upper day, 2 lower day per week might look for you, or even if you think it's a good idea. I think it's slightly too much, man. I'm pretty sure that you want to do that because you want to focus onto the upper body. But it's going to make you overtrain, I believe, very easily compared to a 2 upper, 2 lower. But then if it's a question about you already have quite big legs and you just want to match the upper body, just do 2 upper, 1 lower. And you switch that, okay? So like you do upper 1, lower, upper 2. You do some cardio, for example, like sprints, hill sprints is very good. Do some HIT, bro. Then you do upper again, and so on and so forth. And on that lower day, you just make sure to have 1 heavy deadlift, 1 heavy squats, some isolation. I recommend like leg curls, calves, stuff like that. If you can do hip stuff as well, it's good, like adductor, abductor, or hip thrust, something like that. And that's it. Because 3 upper, 2 lower per week, I mean, it can work. Everything can work. Okay, guys? Everything can work. You can make everything works. But is it going to be convenient and is it going to be enjoyable and useful and purposeful? Not really. Not necessarily. So I'd say that for this upper, or there would be like an upper, it's just isolation work, like conventional cables. But, do not overcomplicate things, guys. And if it's like about your whole upper or like just specific part of the upper, you can go for some kind of modified PPL, like you have a day that is going to be, like for example, if you have weak arms, you can do push arm, you can do pull arms, you can do lower, etc., etc. And so basically we'll have a frequency of thrice per week for the arm and the rest of the upper 2, but it's just going to be like, 1 movement or 2. I think it's a good idea. I just don't think you need to go that far, okay? Bruce Banner asks, is it okay to eat sugary food before a hard workout? Yes. Will you gain weight if you do this? Depend on the caloric total. Or should you eat the sugar before a workout? If there is one moment where you can eat sugar, it's before your workout and during. So go for it. But, about the weight gain, it's going to depend on the whole day, like the whole caloric thing. And yeah, that's about it. Ethan Bodybuilder. Your buddy Ethan here. Hey man. I politely request a good rant on Johnny Pencil Neck, form police, and why hosting heavy loads is good for natural lifters that struggle to put on size. French lifter, I second that. Zachary Green, 100% for us Natty, horsecock massive loads is the way. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. I will see what I can do to disturb Johnny Pencil Neck. French weightlifter again. Do you use Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve? I use DaVinci Resolve. Jordan Jacobs asks, so I wanted to hear your opinion on exercise variety versus eating the same lift multiple times a week for long-term muscle growth. Like if you find bench to be comfortable, in my case dips, why not just do more bench, for more volume and strength progress? A very good question, Jordan. Or Jacobs, I don't know. It's because you're going to eat a wall quite fast, and you're going to run into overuse problem quite easily and burnout problem as well, like nerve-wise. Because repeating the same movement again and again, you're going to fatigue the motor unit in a specific pathway, and at some point, it's going to be basically under-recovered. Not overtrained, under-recovered. And then the performance is going to be a problem, because you're not going to be able to eat the same numbers that you could just like days or weeks ago. And you're going to have cranky noises and overuse symptoms, like on the elbow, for example, in bench or dips case, or maybe the wrist or the shoulder, whatever. It's easier. Yeah, it's easier to just do movement and then do variation of this movement or exercise that are agonist, meaning they are working the same muscles, just in different angles, to keep working kind of around this nerve pathway while still strengthening the body and the muscle specific to what you want to do. Except if it's on like very short time frame, like 4-6 weeks max. Like if you take powerlifters example, some of them do bench twice per week, and they do squats 2 or 3 times per week. They are the athletes that have the most slightly sore, kind of uncomfortable joint problem that for some of them very quickly become problematic, because then they need hip replacement and they need to stop any kind of pressing because their elbow are short, or they have shoulder problem down the line because they're doing too much bench and a bit of over exercise like dumbbell presses or any vertical or incline presses, and like the glenohumeral joint and the shoulder rhythm are totally whacked, because they're doing too much of the same thing again and again and again and again, and they're doing heavy. Powerlifters, they're strong, they're doing it heavy. That's why periodization is a thing. So for long-term muscle growth, there is no reason for you to just eat the same movement several times weekly when you have better option, which is just to add variation. Nick Villar Lobos. Hello from Arizona. Hi, bro. Love your video, man. Thank you. You're a monster in the gym. Thank you. I've got only 7 reps on hover and pull-ups with 20 pounds on belt. I've had 2 or 3 fails and cannot get 8. I train high-intensity style training, single-set training to form failure, not absolute muscle failure. Shooting for 5 to 8 reps each time. What to do? Rotate variation, take off weight and add reps. I'm trying to get bigger and stronger, of course. I'm 15 pounds and 6'1", around 20% BF, so fluffy but big. I'm 45 years old and training for 10 years natural full body training, 3 to 4 times per week, low volume session. Okay, so thank you so much, man. If you want to really improve on pull-ups, there are a few things that you can do. First thing first is just to drop weight. You're 25% body fat, so you could shed some body fat that is going to make you lighter, so it's going to be easier to pull up. Second thing is that, unfortunately, I don't think that pull-up is suited for high-intensity training. Pull-up, when you check every pull-up monster guys, they seem to do grease and groove method, which is basically to do high volume, spread apart, days and hours and a shit ton of set. Me personally, and quite a few of my trainees, I become very strong on pull-ups by doing, I think it was Jason Ferrigia at the time and Jim Wendler that I was listening about this. I was doing 1 day in a week while I'm doing it weighted. I was doing 5x5 or 5x3 or 8x3 or 10x2, whatever. But I was doing basically weighted pull-up once per week, and I was doing another day where it was volume work. I was lightweight, I was like 165 pounds, I think, at the time, so 72 kilograms, something like that. I was lightweight, so that's when I was 17, something like that. I was basically doing my upper body, so I was doing my presses. In between each set of presses, I was doing one set of pull-up. RPE 6, easy. The RER must have been like 2 or 3 reps, and I would just either do the same variation over and over again until I was basically doing 10 to 12 reps. And if at some point I was feeling that 10 reps was becoming too hard, I would switch variation and go for an easier variation. For example, I would begin and do PTN pull-ups, and then I would do wide grip pull-ups, and then I would do medium grip pull-ups, and then I would do neutral grip pull-ups, etc., Or I would just, every set, I would just change and switch, okay? But still 10, 12 reps. At the end of the workout, I had done, at the very least, 300 pull-ups and as high as 500. Because it was in between each set, warm-up included, working sets, and every presses. So at the time I was doing seated press, push press, PTN press, incline press, close grip bench press, dips between every set, pull-ups. Volume works for pull-ups. The same way push-ups for volume and dips for volume also work. It's just that it's easier to make progress when you have a weighted day in between. Okay. There is a case also for what is called endurance day, when you are doing sets of 12 and up to 20 reps, even more, 25 reps. It's just that you will need a band to basically remove weight on your pull-ups, or you need to be very strong already on pull-ups or lightweight to do it, or you need to have a lat pull-down available to do this. Regardless, I personally do not believe into high reps or this stuff. I think it's too much. Like you're losing too much energy with the cardio and the effort itself. So I was not a fan of that, but the weighted day and the volume day did wonder for me. Like at some point I was basically doing, because 10, 12 reps, it's very easy. Then you go to 15 and it's like, oh, okay. So I was doing 15 sets of 15 reps, wide grip pull-ups, and I had a very little weight, I think it was 10 kilograms or 25 pounds, something like that. And I was doing 15 by 15 with that. But I was light, of course, it was just 75 kilograms, but it worked wonder for my back, and it worked wonder for my shoulder and tributary health, and to work like a shit ton of things, to stabilize the shoulder and to work all the little accessory muscles. So in your case, you're already tall, you're already big, you are 20% body fat. I'd say that if you can drop just 10 pounds, have this weighted day, and just bang out as much as possible body weight, but never to failure, I think is going to help you. I unfortunately do not see any kind of scenario where you can like if you can really achieve enough stimulation since you're already stalling for pull-ups, because the upper back muscle are like sponge. They can really withstand a shit ton of punishment, both in terms of weight and both in terms of volume. And I'm natural, but many people think I'm not because of my traps, because of my overall development, and especially because of my back. It's a genetic strong point, so it's not just me. It's thanks mom and thanks dad, but it is also the only body part, with maybe the glutes and the quads, that are really hammered so hard with both the volume and both the weight and with a shit ton of variation that, in my opinion, it did became what it is today. It's just because I really hammered it. And I do not believe that HIT is going to be enough for you, especially regarding pull-ups, if you're already stalling. Okay, so grease and groove method. One day you do weighted pull-ups, you do not do anything to failure, and one other day you do volume work. It can be lat pull-down, it can be dumbbell row, it can be lat machine, it can be whatever, and it can be bodyweight pull-up, of course. or assisted, whatever, but just volume, okay? 5 by 10 at least. And that is also a method that Golden Era athletes had. They just wanted to do pull-ups, and they would say, okay, I'm going to do 50 or 80 or 100, and I'm going to do it with as little set as possible. And that was it, okay? Leandre Martin asks, in your training, you do bicep, but you do jump straight from an exercise to another, or do you rest between the two exercises? I saw people say jumping from exercise to exercise is a bad idea because of nervous fatigue. Very good question, and that is true. Depending on the exercise that you're training, the nervous fatigue generated is going to be possibly a problem. You have to understand that when you're doing supersets, it can be a problem of the cardio, obviously, but also of systemic fatigue, okay? Because there are two fatigues. There is the localized fatigue, like the muscle, specifically the muscle, and then there is the systemic fatigue, so the whole body, actually. For example, if you do a concentration curl set to failure, the systemic fatigue is going to be low, like you're not going to be tired from this, but your biceps is going to be trashed. This is the localized fatigue. But if you do 80 sets of squat to failure, like in the Smith, and you go to failure, your quads, they can be quite fatigued, but I would not say that one set of squat is going to totally trash your quads. But systemically, you're going to be dead. Anyone who has done a squat of, 10 to 20 reps to failure, perfectly know what I'm talking about. You need 5 minutes of rest, at least. So it depends, yes. For some superset, you need 30 seconds, 1 minute before going. If you are just talking about, isolation work, like you do biceps curls and you do triceps, or you do rear delt and then you do lateral delt, or you do leg extension to leg curl, maybe leg extension to leg curl, you're going to have your head hurting because it's going to be quite fatiguing and burning, but it's fine. So I would say that it depends. It's specific, man. Nimenziezi. Sorry, man. Possible Q&A question. Thought on unilateral pushing exercise. They have proven their worth on exercise like Bulgarian back exercise, and it's not rare to see unilateral arm turning too, but not the case for pushing. Is this just because you could tip over and already get the rotational benefit without the exercise, or is there some merit to training chest or front delt unilaterally? Okay, so I think bro is asking why we are not doing single arm dumbbell presses, whatever the incline, but we are doing Bulgarian, RDL, stuff like that with one leg at a time, lunges as well. And same thing for arms, like single arm biceps, single arm triceps, whatever. The reason is simple. Have you ever tried to do it? And did you try to go to failure? And was it the chest or the delt or the tricep that failed first? No, it's going to be the balance. Just balancing you in the position and keeping yourself in is going to be a pain in the ass. That's the first thing. The second thing is going to be because you're trying to work the chest and the front delt when you're doing presses. So you cannot have your core as a limiting factor. So if your goal, like if you're doing combat sport, for example, or you're in the military, or you're doing football or rugby, if you have to do these rotational movement, you are going to choose exercise where the arm and the chest and the delt are not going to bother you. It's going to be kind of specific to the rotation. So you're going to do the lunge, when you are lunging forward in your rotation, you have a rotation like that, or you're going to do some kind of bent over row and you're doing like reaching out with arm one more than your other. It's like you're doing kayak, basically, etc., etc. But in the case of pushing muscle, stability is going to be key. It's going to be key. You cannot do it and have a proper workout with your chest and front delt if you have some kind of instability at the core region, okay? Especially when you're doing single arm. Also, if you go heavy enough, even placing and keeping your body weight, in position is going to be hard. Even if you're like in a machine, for example. So you need to be able to brace. And if you're able to brace, you need stability. So it's not going to work, like the lateral chains if you're putting yourself in a stable position. Okay? So that's why I believe, except in GPP and specific sport preparation, you are not going to see these kind of exercises, man. But they're not bad. They're not bad at all. It's just that for bodybuilding, we have better choices. Okay? And as for, the leg exercise, Bulgarian back exercise, etc., we are doing them in bodybuilding because we are able to be stable on them enough to have a proper stimulus. Okay, like if you're doing Bulgarian in the Smith, they can totally replace a squat. They did for me. I'm much better and much safer on the Bulgarian than a bilateral squat. Okay, people that have hurt their hip or their knee or their low back can also benefit from the same thing. When you're doing heavy movement for your legs and your low back is trashed, but you still need your hip hinge, you can do RDL with one leg, so you have your hip hinge, but the fatigue on your low back is going to be much less than if you were doing bilateral training. Also, there is the fact that if you're doing, for example, the RDL is done unilaterally, and you're using dumbbells, okay? Dumbbells can be much closer to your center of gravity than a barbell in front of you. So there is much less anterior load, so there is less shear forces onto your spine. So there is less risk of injury on your spine. I'm not talking erectors. I'm not talking muscle here. I'm talking about the disc, okay? The spine, the bones, okay? And at the same time, you are working slightly differently. You're still putting a shit ton of demand on your glutes and your adductors and your hamstring. So it's a proper choices, okay? This is how it works, really. While doing like a lying down flat dumbbell press, but with just one arm, and with the other arm is like wiggling around when you're trying to keep balance, it's like, okay, just do the two arms at the same time, okay? But very, very good question. Okay, I like trains. I have a reference. Thought on oblique training. You see the argument that you're just building a wider waist and that makes your V-taper worse. But I'm not sure if I'm convinced by that. But it's true. Check out my ebook on the waist training for that, where I explain everything. But basically, yeah, abs are like any muscle. You train them, they grow. You train them heavier and heavier, so they grow and grow and grow. And at some point, the oblique can break the symmetry and lines that you have around your midsection and make you appear more blocky. Same way, if you train your bicep arms are going to get bigger and your arm are going to look bigger as a whole. It's not rocket science, man. Really. And if you want more detail, get the ebook. You're going to see everything and everything is explained. PBJG5 ask, who has the best natty physique you've seen on YouTube Fitness? Who is the biggest of the noble natties? Who is the most yoked? Who is the most jacked? 4 different questions. I wouldn't have guessed if you didn't precise. It was 4 different questions. Sorry, I'm just being French. Who has the best natty physique you've seen on YouTube Fitness? Me. No, just joking. No, I don't know, man. I don't know. Alex Leonidas was a big slap for me when I was following him starting 2016. Really, really great shape. Even when he was doing lateral enhance, which is not like optimized bodybuilding, he was amazing. And when he switched to like basically be more balanced, training legs again, focusing on bench or building the chest, like his body is really, really impressive, in my opinion. Who is the biggest? That's easy. That is Geoffrey. As Geoffrey, who is the most yoked? It's either PG coaching or Bold Omniman. Who is the most jacked? Is Geoffrey or Bold Omniman, I think. It depends who you be. It depends who do you think is in the noble natty crew. But yeah. These 2 are like fantastic. These 3 are fantastic. Next question, Dean Shepard. Would you say it makes a significant difference on biceps gains and appearance if you could focus on both head of a muscle, long and short? Yeah, definitely. Yes, definitely. It'd be the same as you asking, does it make a difference if I purposefully train as hard as possible the lower and the upper chest? Yes, it can make a big difference, right? Same thing for any muscle. Like, for example, having exercise that put the arm behind the shoulder when curling, like cable incline curls, that would be for the long head, definitely. And exercise with the arm in front of the shoulder, like a preacher girl for the short head. Yes. Yes, it does. It definitely does. Single joint muscle. It's not a single joint muscle. Biceps is... The short head is a single joint muscle. The long head is a double. It's double joint muscle, bro. And by the way, when you're doing curls with your arm forward, like preacher curl, you also have a brachialis that is going to work more. We can't forget it, to push out the biceps and make the whole arm bigger. I have a very good brachialis, and it really, really saved me with my almost trash tier biceps genetic, because you see they are very short, so they are really hard to grow sometimes. Thanks in advance. And yeah, I'm very, very late. It's been 1 year. Sorry, man. Lacanian Lifter asks, what would you recommend in terms of cancer prevention dating? I'm asking this as I didn't know that creatine was anti-carcinogen. This year, about 6 months ago, I had a seizure that led to the discovery of a major brain tumor. Turned out to be astrocytoma, stage 3. Full removal, 100% recovery according to neurosurgeon. But you also have favorable mutations which are synergistic with the radiation and chemo. Okay. Truly blessed. Full recovery, no side effect. Okay. For the prognosis is okay. I need to live for as long as possible, not for myself, but because I'm a father to a 14-month-old daughter. Husband to a wife, currently taking creatine, whole garlic clove, and sardine every day. Okay. That is absolutely not sure if you will answer this question or not, but your insight. And Based said, interesting that creatine is anti-carcinogenic, given that many have claimed that it starves the cancer on the diet of exclusively red meat. Perhaps at a large level of creatine, the diet helps too. It's very, very complex because cancer, I don't even think I'm allowed to say this in YouTube. I don't know. Whatever. Cancer is not a disease. It's a metabolic syndrome. It is an impairment of the energy cell metabolism regulation. And yes, creatine helps with T cells. If you have any kind of mutation, genetic, whatever, that can make you more prone to have T cells, you have to fuck up the metabolism that is making cells degenerate into T cells. One of the best way to do this is to make sure that your body process sugar or glucose or sucrose, whatever, properly without problem. So make sure that your insulin sensitivity is worked through and good. Make sure to have a blood glucose level that is, let's say, under 0.85, something like that. And make sure that your inflammation levels, like protein C-reactive, I think you call CRP in English, and any low-grade inflammation is dealt with, and it starts in the guts. So maybe do a stool analysis and check liver markers. Intermittent fasting will be something that could be good for you, because there is like a recent study actually that talk about this. It was already hypothesized, but fasting can basically starve very specific brain cells that are part of the equation of signaling some stuff with the cell metabolism that can lead to T cells. Okay, so yeah, what did you say again? Garlic clove, creatine, sardine every other day, fermented food. Fermented food is going to be good. Sauerkraut is going to be great for your gut health. And then it's vitamin D, glycine, taurine, zinc, selenium, magnesium, all these things basically. The basics, as always, the basics. And get sun. Get some sun, bro. And if possible, reduce EMF exposure, because these are the ones that can get your calcium channel too excited and like shift off stuff, And good luck to you, man. You're extremely strong. Thank you for being here. And I hope you'll be fine. You and your family. Okay, last question. Jack and Stoic ask, do you train abs at Soviac? I've just never seen you train abs or any abs isolation at least. I always assume it was because of keeping the waist thinner for the silver eye aesthetic, and you eat vacuums too. I'm curious as to why you don't, or maybe you do, regardless. Thank you for your work. Okay, so again, you can check out my ebook on waist training. I explain everything in it if you want like the full thing. But regarding me, my case, I do train abs. It's just that I find it boring to film, so I do not show it. I do vacuum, yes, but same thing. I find it too boring to film, so I do not do it. And there is actually a video of me. I think it was the Mr. Golden Era prep, the last video where I show one of the ab circuit I do not every day, but at least once a week or every 10 days when I'm bulking, on my cardio day. Okay, and yeah. But yeah, I do train abs. It's just that I don't do it much. And yes, it's to keep my waist thinner for the aestheticism, because my abs are actually strong point with all the combat sport I did. And at some point, like right now, my waist is 29, 30 inches. So in centimeter is 74 to 76, something like that. And I can make it as small as 28 inches, so 71 centimeter. But when I was 18, it was 31 inches, so 78 centimeter. You know why? Because I was doing everything beltless. But that's not the real culprit. The real culprit is that I was doing abs heavy. I was doing a shit ton of toes to bar, and I was doing ab roll, both on my feet and on my knees. But when I was on my knees, I would put plates on my back, and I had chunky abs, So when like I would put a shirt, it looked like I had a slight gut, which I hated, but it was actually abs. They were so thick, like if I was like sweating a little bit and the t-shirt would like glue on me, you could see my abs under, and they were like thick, And I really disliked how it looked on me. Okay, so that's why, basically. And the Q&A is now finished. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and thank you for all the questions. And if you have more questions, drop them down below. And for the next Q&A, I will be answering them. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.